The Galactic Council chamber floated above a blue star, wider than any human city. Its walls were alive with light, carved from crystal older than Earth itself. Hundreds of alien species sat in silent judgment, their forms strange, scaled, feathered, armored, glowing. At the center stood a small figure. Human. Admiral Elias Rourke did not wear power armor. He did not glow or float. He stood on 2 feet, hands behind his back, wearing a simple black uniform with a faded Earth emblem. The council whispered. "This is them," clicked a Virex noble, its insect eyes narrowing. "They still use chemical rockets," laughed a floating Zenth diplomat. "Primitive. Emotional. Divided." Humanity had reached the stars only 80 years ago. In a galaxy where empires lasted millions of years, that made them children. The charge was read aloud. Humanity is accused of violating the rules of war during the Kairos border conflict. A massive hologram appeared, burning ships, shattered fleets, silent stars. The Kairos Dominion had attacked human colonies first. Everyone knew this. But the Dominion was ancient, powerful, and respected. Humans were new. A new species did not get mercy. Admiral Rourke spoke calmly. "We defended ourselves." Laughter rippled through the chamber. A Kairos warlord rose. Tall. Armored. Eyes like molten gold. "You erased an entire battle fleet without firing a single plasma shot," the warlord growled. "You turned our own weapons against us. That is deception. Cowardice." Rourke looked up. "That is strategy." The council did not like that answer. 3 years earlier, the human colony of New Horizon orbited a quiet yellow star. It had no planetary shields. No heavy guns. Just farms, families, and hope. Then the sky broke. Kairos warships emerged from hyperspace like iron gods. Their hulls blocked the sun. Their weapons hummed with ancient power. Colonel Mara Vance watched from the command deck, jaw tight. "Enemy fleet count?" she asked. Her officer swallowed. 32 capital ships. "We have 4 defense cruisers." Silence. The Kairos transmitted a single message. "Surrender. Your world will be harvested." Vance closed her eyes for half a second. Then she smiled. "Open a channel," she said. The Kairos commander appeared, confident, bored. "You are outmatched," he said. "Your defeat is mathematically certain." Vance nodded. "You're right." That confused him. She continued, "But tell me, how certain are you of your own systems?" The Kairos commander laughed. "Our technology predates your species." "Good," Vance replied. "Then you won't mind a test." She cut the channel. "Execute trick 1, she ordered. The human trick. Human ships powered down. To the Kairos sensors they looked dead. The alien fleet advanced, confident, lowering shields to prepare capture beams. They wanted slaves. Data. Resources. That was when space itself betrayed them. Human probes, tiny, invisible, forgotten, activated across the system. They had been launched years earlier. No weapons. No armor. Just code. The probes spoke an ancient language. Meh. They flooded Kairos targeting systems with false solutions. Every equation returned multiple answers. Every calculation disagreed with itself. Weapons hesitated. Navigation glitched. Then human ships came back online. Not firing. Broadcasting. Old human signals. Radio noise. Music. Random patterns. The Kairos AI tried to filter it out. It couldn't. Because humans did not think like machines. They thought like chaos. One Kairos ship fired, accidentally, into another. Then another. The fleet turned on itself, systems screaming, logic collapsing. In less than 6 minutes, 32 warships were drifting, powerless. No explosions. No honor. Just silence. Colonel Vance watched the screens. "We didn't break their ships," an officer whispered. "We broke their assumptions." Back to the council. The chamber was silent now. The council replayed the battle again and again, unable to understand. "You used confusion as a weapon," said an elder species. Rourke nodded. "Yes. That violates tradition." Rourke met their gaze. "So did attacking civilians." The Kairos warlord trembled with rage. "Humans cannot be trusted. They break the rules of war." Rourke's voice hardened. "No," he said. "We read the rules. We just noticed something you forgot." The chamber leaned in. "What?" asked the council speaker. Rourke answered quietly. "The rules were written by winners. And humanity plans to win." Far beyond the chamber, human fleets were moving. And the galaxy was about to learn something terrifying. Humans did not fight to look strong. They fought to end wars forever. The Galactic Council did not end the session that day. They argued. Ancient species argued in voices that could shake moons. Younger empires whispered, afraid to be heard. Screens replayed the Karos' defeat again and again, slowed down, analyzed, torn apart. And still no one could explain it. Humans did not overpower them, said a crystalline elder. They outthought them, replied another. That was more dangerous. The political shockwave. Within weeks the galaxy split. Some species feared humans. Others admired them. Many wanted their secrets. The Karos' dominion chose war. Their High War Assembly broadcast a declaration across known space. Humanity is a chaotic species. They corrupt war itself. They must be eradicated. The message reached Earth in 7 minutes. President Elena Cortez watched it in silence. Around her stood generals, scientists, diplomats. No one spoke. Finally, Cortez exhaled. So, she said calmly, they want a clean war. General Hargreaves shook his head. They want an example. Cortez nodded. Then we give them one. Humanity's real weakness. The galaxy believed humans were weak because they lacked unity. They were wrong. Humans fought among themselves, yes, but when threatened from outside, something ancient awakened. Every nation agreed within 48 hours. A full defensive mobilization. Shipyards burned day and night. Civilian factories converted overnight. Universities became think tanks. Artists, gamers, engineers, historians, all pulled into one thing. Problem solving. Not bigger guns. Better ideas. Dr. Kenji Rao stood before a massive hologram of the Karos fleet. They rely on prediction, he said. They assume behavior follows patterns. A general frowned. That's normal. Rao smiled thinly. Humans don't. The second invasion. The Karos did not repeat their mistake. This time they brought overwhelming force. 200 warships jumped into the Helios corridor, the fastest route to Earth. Their shields were locked. Their systems isolated. No signals in or out. No confusion allowed. Admiral Rourke commanded the human fleet. He stared at the tactical map. We can't win a direct fight, an officer said quietly. Rourke nodded. I know. Then what's the plan? Rourke smiled, the same smile Colonel Vance once had. We don't fight the fleet. Trick 2 weaponized mercy. Human ships advanced slowly. No firing. No jamming. Just open channels. The Karos commander snarled. Do not attempt deception, human. Rourke appeared on screen. We surrender, he said. The Karos bridge went silent. You lie. Rourke raised his hands. We surrender this corridor. We surrender our outer colonies. We surrender, prisoners. Cargo pods launched from human ships. Inside were wounded Karos soldiers from earlier battles. Ill. Federal treated. Medical data included. Biological insights freely shared. The Karos commander hesitated. Why? Rourke answered softly. Because your soldiers didn't choose this war. That moment changed everything. Some Karos ships powered down weapons, just for a second. That second was enough. Human ships vanished. Not destroyed. Gone. The trap reveals itself. The Helios corridor collapsed behind the Karos fleet. Artificial gravity wells activated, human-made, illegal, experimental. The Karos fleet was dragged out of hyperspace into empty interstellar void. No stars. No reference points. Their navigation screamed errors. And then human drones appeared. Not armed. Recording. Broadcasting live across the galaxy. The drones showed Karos ships stranded, confused, alive. A message followed. This is what humans do. We end wars without slaughter. Remember who attacked first. The galaxy watched. And judged. The council reacts. Back in the council chamber, outrage erupted. They humiliated an empire. They exposed weakness. They used compassion as a weapon. The council speaker turned to Admiral Rourke. You are destabilizing galactic order. Rourke stood tall. Your order allowed genocide of new species. Silence. A smaller voice spoke from a young trade coalition. Perhaps the order deserves to be destabilized. Others murmured agreement. For the first time in history, the Karos dominion was not supported unanimously. Fear was spreading. But not fear of humans. Fear because of humans. Because humans were changing the game. The Karos countermoved. Stranded fleets were embarrassing. The Karos chose terror instead. A human listening post detected a new signal. Colonel Vance watched the feed, heart heavy. They're targeting civilian worlds, she whispered. Rourke closed his eyes. The Caros had learned nothing. Or maybe they had. And chosen cruelty anyway. Rourke straightened. Authorized trick 3. Vance looked up sharply. That's not war, she said. Rourke met her gaze. No, he replied. It's a lesson. Ending note. Across human space, systems activated that had never been used. Ancient human fears. Ancient human creativity. The galaxy believed humans were dangerous because they were clever. They were about to learn the truth. Humans were dangerous because they adapted faster than fear. And the next trick would make the galaxy question whether war with humanity was even possible. The galaxy trembled, not with the sound of cannons, not with explosions, but with a single incomprehensible idea. Humans did not play by the rules of war, yet somehow they never truly killed unless necessary. Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the USS Dauntless, a flagship no taller than a city tower but armed with a fleet's worth of ingenuity. Outside, the Caros fleet loomed like a nightmare of living metal. The corridor was quiet. Too quiet. Too calm. That calm always meant humans were planning something dangerous. The civilian gambit. The Caros had made their move, targeting human colonies. Their idea was simple. Shock humans with fear. Demoralize them. Force a surrender. But humans were not machines to scare. Colonel Mara Vance monitored signals from Vega Prime, a civilian hub housing over 7 million humans. Caro's missiles streaked through space like molten comets. Her fingers danced across the console. Deploy shields, she ordered. Activate evac drones. Open automated relay gates. Vega Prime blinked on the screen, dozens of cities under threat. But then in an instant the colonies shimmered. Buildings lifted on magnetic platforms. Citizens moved safely into orbital sanctuaries. Schools, hospitals, even families with pets, everyone evacuated, none lost. The Caros commander's AI calculated probabilities. Loss of 0.003%. Impossible. Human error should be 17% minimum. Humans laughed at probabilities. Humans were chaos incarnate. The human trick revealed. Rourke addressed his fleet. Today the Caros believe they can break us with fear. They are wrong. Fear is predictable. Chaos is not. Sensors blinked. Tiny human probes launched into Caros systems. Not to destroy but to study. To record. To understand the enemy faster than the enemy could understand them. Humans turned the Caros attack into a teaching moment. Every missile intercepted, every ship misdirected, every automated system captured. These were not just defenses. These were lessons for the humans themselves. A junior officer whispered, "It's like they're learning in real time, improving with every strike." Rourke smiled grimly. Exactly. The Caros panic. The Caros' dominion was built on certainty. Rules. Traditions. Predictable outcomes. And humans shattered both. Within their fleet, algorithms designed to predict human moves failed spectacularly. Ships collided accidentally, internal defenses misfired. Communication loops jammed, not by brute force but by human logic. The Caros commander bellowed. They anticipate everything. They use mercy as a weapon. And then he stopped. Something impossible had occurred. A single human probe, no bigger than a shuttle, had infiltrated the Caros command node. Not to attack. Not to sabotage. Just to feed them information they already had, but in a way that forced them to doubt themselves. The Caros could not trust their own eyes. Their own systems. Their own minds. Humans had invented war uncertainty. A weapon more powerful than plasma or antimatter. Psychological chaos, with ethics as its core. A moment of awe. Admiral Rourke watched the Caros fleet tremble. Even a single pause was enough. Vance said softly, "They're scared." "Good," Rourke replied. "They should be. But not of us. Of what we show them we can be." On board the Dauntless, every human crew member felt it. The moment when your enemy realizes they misjudged you and everything changes. In the council chambers, alien representatives debated. This is not war. This is evolution," murmured one. "They're teaching the galaxy what strategy really is." The Caros could not even attack the humans without risking exposure. Every assault, every move backfired. The first dialogue between humans and Caros. A Caros commander requested a parley. Never before had such a thing occurred during active battle. Rourke appeared on the main screen. "Why do you hesitate?" asked the Caros, voice trembling. Rourke's calm eyes met theirs. "We fight when we must. We kill when we must. But we do not destroy for glory or fear. If you want war, you have started it. But if you want survival, we can talk." The Caros officer paused. Thousands of internal programs calculated probabilities. And failed. You do not fear us? Fear. Rourke shook his head. We respect you. But respect does not mean submission. That is human strength. The word spread through the Karos fleet. Confusion rose like a tide. Humans had spoken truth in war, and it was stronger than any weapon. The human edge. Meanwhile, humans were not just defending, they were reshaping the battlefield itself. Every probe, drone, and shuttle collected Karos data. Every intercepted signal revealed weaknesses. Every mistake the Karos made was recorded, learned from, and used against them. They did not need superior numbers. They did not need heavier weapons. They needed brains and courage. Vance leaned over the tactical map. How do you anticipate a species that refuses patterns? Rourke smiled faintly. You don't. You guide them into the patterns they don't see, and then you break the pattern. In less than 24 hours, the humans had turned the Karos offensive into their own victory map. The Dominion's fleet was paralyzed, not destroyed but neutralized. It was war without casualties, and the galaxy could not comprehend it. End of Part 3, The Human Paradox. By the end of the day, the Karos fleet was not just stopped. They were humiliated, unsure if the humans had cheated or discovered some new form of reality. The Council whispered across the stars. How can such small, young, untested beings dominate an ancient empire? And humans simply prepared for Trick 4, the move that would show the galaxy that human ingenuity could rewrite not only wars but rules themselves. The stars over the Helios corridor shimmered, reflecting the tension of a galaxy unprepared for human cunning. Admiral Elias Rourke stood on the bridge of the USS Dauntless, eyes scanning streams of data streaming from human probes. Behind him, the crew moved in quiet precision. Every glance, every hand movement, spoke of discipline forged in chaos. Humans had survived the Karos' first strike. They had outsmarted a fleet 10 times their size. And now, Rourke was preparing Trick 4, the offensive that would not just defend humanity but reshape the balance of power across the galaxy. The Council's frustration. Across the stars, the Galactic Council convened urgently. Every species feared humans, some with awe, others with anger. A crystalline elder's voice cut through the chamber. They are young. They should fail. Why do they not? They do not fight by rules we understand, whispered a Zenth diplomat. Every action seems counterintuitive, yet perfect, said a small trade coalition ambassador. The Karos Dominion, humiliated and restrained, had demanded the Council enforce penalties. But for the first time the Council hesitated. Humans were proving that ethics, cunning, and strategy could be weapons stronger than fleets. The human offensive begins. Rourke addressed his fleet. The tone was calm, almost serene, but the words carried quiet ferocity. Today, he said, we will do what our enemies cannot comprehend. We will not crush them, we will rewrite the battlefield. Sensors across the fleet came alive. Not with weapons but with information channels. Drones streamed into the Karos fleet, not armed with explosives but with knowledge of their own systems, their weaknesses, their fears. The Karos fleet detected the humans moving closer. Every human ship, every probe, every shuttle appeared to be ordinary, unarmed, weak. That illusion was precisely the point. Trick 4, the offensive of perception. The Karos warlord, furious, demanded the fleet attack immediately. Destroy them, he roared. But every weapon fired malfunctioned. Not because humans hacked them. Not because they sabotaged the systems. But because humans predicted every decision. Human logic had guided Karos' error. A cruiser misfired into a wing of its own fleet. A carrier lost navigation, drifting helplessly. The rest froze, unable to process the impossible. Rourke smiled faintly. They think they are attacking, he said. But they are fighting themselves. The psychological battlefield. 4 days the offensive unfolded. Humans did not attack. Humans did not defend in the traditional sense. They influenced perception, sowed doubt, guided decisions, corrected errors, and exposed weakness without firing a single destructive shot. Colonel Mara Vance monitored civilian communications across human space, ensuring that every colony was safe. Every action humans took sent a signal to the Karos fleet. You are not invincible. You are not infallible. You are mortal. The Karos, accustomed to victory by firepower, were paralyzed by the audacity of mercy and cleverness. Even the Council observed in disbelief. Is this war? Asked a young ambassador. No, whispered an elder, this is a lesson in what true strategy is. The first human strike without killing. Finally Rourke issued the command. Deploy the Mirror Fleet. The Mirror Fleet was not new ships. They were reflections, projections, holographic copies of human ships, indistinguishable from the originals. Each mirrored vessel acted exactly like the humans expected the Keros to think they would act, creating chaos and miscalculation. The Keros fired on these copies, destroying nothing. Their own missiles backfired, striking allied vessels. Sensors overloaded. Internal programs locked. Entire sectors of the Keros fleet became useless by the humans' clever deception. No lives lost. No destruction, but hundreds of ships neutralized. The political consequences. Across the council, debate erupted. "They are cheating," cried one Keros diplomat. "They are showing the galaxy new rules," countered a young coalition leader. "Perhaps this is evolution," said another. Humans had demonstrated that power was not just firepower, but ingenuity, ethics, and unpredictability. The galaxy was no longer sure if victory could be won through strength alone. The Keros' desperation. Cornered and humiliated, the Keros warlord convened his top generals. "They are children," he growled. "They are weak. And yet, every step we take fails." An advisor spoke cautiously. "They anticipate our decisions, without attacking. They outthink us." The Keros commander's jaw clenched. "Then we must strike at their core. Earth itself." They plotted a direct attack on human homeworlds, believing that fear would finally bend them to submission. Humans adapt before the strike. Rourke received intelligence about the attack hours before the Keros fleet could even reach human space. He called Colonel Vance. "They want to scare us into submission," he said. "We will do the opposite. We will welcome them." Vance raised her eyebrows. "Welcome them? Are you mad?" Rourke's eyes were cold, calm, and sharp. "Not welcome. Guide them. Let them walk into our lesson." The humans activated Project Atlas, a network of decoys, shields, and tactical grids across Earth orbit. Millions of civilians were already evacuated to safe zones. Automated defenses were online. Drones moved silently across the void. Every step of the Keros attack would be anticipated, neutralized, and recorded. The stage was set, and the galaxy waited to see whether the humans would defend with force, or with their wits. Ending note of Part 4. By the end of this phase, one fact was clear across the stars. Humans had changed war itself. The Keros fleet was still massive, still armed, still confident. Yet everywhere they turned, they were outmatched, not in strength but in intelligence, adaptability, and understanding. And the next move, the one Rourke called Trick 5, would finally shock the galaxy into understanding that humans were unstoppable. The void around the Helios corridor was silent, deceptively silent. The Keros fleet loomed like a living shadow, bristling with weapons, confident that they would finally crush the chaotic human species. But Admiral Elias Rourke knew something the Keros could not understand. Humans did not fight the way they expected. They fought with adaptability, improvisation, and moral calculation, and the galaxy had never seen a species like them. The Keros strike on Earth. The Keros had decided to attack Earth itself. Their plan was brutal, a direct orbital strike targeting human cities to break morale and force surrender. Colonel Mara Vance monitored the incoming trajectories from the orbital command center, her jaw tight. "Estimated casualties if the first wave hits?" she asked quietly. A junior officer hesitated. "Billions, ma'am. Planet-wide devastation." Vance swallowed. "Then we act before they arrive." Rourke's voice came over the calm but commanding. "Trick 5 is in motion. This attack will teach them what humanity really is." The crew braced. They had no idea what Rourke meant, but they trusted him. Trick 5, the human counterattack. Unlike previous tricks, this was a direct yet invisible offensive. Human drones, already in orbit around key Keros staging points, activated. They were not armed with weapons. They did not fire. Instead, they manipulated Keros communications and navigational systems, feeding false coordinates and encrypted misdirections. Every Keros ship followed the false data, grouping precisely where humans wanted them. At the same time, automated orbital shields around Earth activated in staggered, unpredictable patterns. When Keros weapons fired, their own fire was diverted, neutralized, or reflected safely away. The Keros commander, furious, slammed his clawed hand onto the bridge console. "They are cheating. Impossible." Rourke appeared on the communication screen, expression calm. "We are not cheating. We are using your assumptions against you. You calculate certainty. We calculate possibility." The Keros fleet collapses. Within hours, the Keros fleet had unwittingly herded itself into a trap of their own design. Their weapons misfired into one another. Engines malfunctioned due to conflicting signals. Entire squadrons drifted powerless through space. Humans moved quietly among them, not to destroy, but to observe, learn, and prepare for any retaliation. The offensive was surgical, precise, and almost painfully ethical. Colonel Vance, watching the displays, whispered, "They're not just winning, they're teaching them a lesson." And indeed that was the purpose. Humans did not want destruction. They wanted awareness. A way to show the galaxy that the young species was not one to underestimate, but also not one to waste lives unnecessarily. The first Karos surrender. For the first time, an entire Karos squadron opened channels voluntarily. Their commander, shaking, spoke through the static. "We cannot continue. You anticipate everything. We are lost without fighting." Rourke's reply was simple. "You are not lost. You are learning. Stop the fighting. Save your people." Across the galaxy, reports of surrender and withdrawal spread like wildfire. Systems that had never seen a human in person were stunned. The humans did not destroy, yet they triumphed completely. The galaxy reacts. News of the Karos surrender reached the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in discussion. The young trade coalition applauded, calling humans a species of ingenuity and morality. Some warlike empires felt fear. Others admiration. No one remained neutral. A Zenth diplomat admitted quietly. "They fight differently. We cannot predict them, yet they dominate." Even the crystalline elder nodded. "They are a paradox, weak in appearance, unstoppable in action." Humans had proven themselves beyond simple measure. The galaxy had seen their cunning, compassion, and adaptability. This was a new kind of apex species, one that would shape the stars. The moral of the offensive. What made this victory extraordinary was not numbers, not weapons, not shields, but ethics as strategy. Humans had turned the Karos' own aggression into a lesson without mass slaughter. They had protected billions of civilians, neutralized a massive fleet, and shown that intelligence combined with morality could defeat brute force. Rourke reflected on the Bridge of the Dauntless. "This is what humans do. We fight not to kill, we fight to survive, to protect, and to teach the universe that intelligence is the ultimate weapon." Vance smiled faintly. "And the galaxy will never forget it." The Karos retreat. The Karos Dominion limped back into their territories, shattered in pride, forced to reconsider every assumption they had ever made about war, strategy, and humans. Their war plans had failed, not through destruction, but through superior thinking, adaptation, and moral calculation. The legend of humans had begun. Across the stars, whispered reports reached distant systems. "The humans do not fight like us. They do not kill like us. And yet they always win." The end of Part 5, Humanity Ascends. By the conclusion of this offensive, the galaxy knew one undeniable truth. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and unshakable. They had turned apparent weakness into power, compassion into strategy, and intelligence into supremacy. The next part would shift the focus to galactic politics, alliances, and a final test. The moment the galaxy truly recognized the apex capability of humanity. The galaxy had changed. No longer could species assume dominance by fleets, numbers, or ancient technology. Everywhere, systems whispered of humans who thought differently, adapted faster, and struck smarter. Yet the war was not over. The Karos Dominion, humiliated but alive, nursed a burning question. Could humans be contained? Could they be defeated? And the Galactic Council, shaken by human victories, debated whether to rein them in, or let them reshape galactic order entirely. Admiral Elias Rourke, aboard the USS Dauntless, knew the next challenge would test humanity's strategic brilliance, moral courage, and resilience. The Council convenes. The chamber above the blue star was tense. Representatives from hundreds of species hovered or floated, glimmered, or quivered as they discussed the human question. "They cannot be ignored," said a crystalline elder, its tone like glass grinding against stone. "They challenge every rule of war," added a Zenth diplomat. "They strike without killing yet destroy outcomes. They learn faster than we can predict." A young coalition ambassador spoke cautiously. "Perhaps we should ally with them. Their methods could protect countless systems from endless war. Or they could become uncontrollable," countered a warlike species. "Their unpredictability threatens all of us." Admiral Rourke watched from the human seat, silent. He understood the Council better than most. The galaxy feared what it could not dominate. The Karos retaliate. Humiliated but alive, the Karos Dominion was determined to strike where humans were most vulnerable. Human supply lines, colonies, and allied neutral systems. Colonel Mara Vance analyzed reports from the front. Over 50 colonies targeted simultaneously, she whispered. They want to bleed us slowly, systematically. Rourke's response was calm. They think this will force us into mistakes. It won't. Humans don't make mistakes under pressure. They adapt. Trick 6, the human counterstrike. Rourke had prepared for this exact scenario. He called it Trick 6, a multi-layered counteroffensive combining strategy, psychology, and diplomacy. Predictive deployment. Human forces position themselves ahead of enemy attacks, not by intelligence reports alone, but by anticipating enemy thought patterns. Simultaneous defense and offense. Human fleets used mirrored ships and decoys, diverting attacks while preparing precise strikes on key Kairos command nodes. Diplomatic leverage. Rourke opened discrete channels to neutral alien systems, showing that supporting humans offered security, not risk. The Kairos commander, unaware of human calculations, launched a massive strike. Dozens of weapons fired, aimed at critical targets. But every strike was neutralized before it could cause harm, either by automated shields, counter-drones, or human foresight guiding enemy fire into harmless voids. The lesson in chaos. For the first time, the Kairos experienced true human unpredictability. Ships malfunctioned, not because of sabotage, but because humans anticipated every assumption and turned it against the enemy. A Kairos general whispered in shock. They are everywhere, and nowhere. They think in ways we cannot even model. Rourke appeared on the communications feed. You see, your fleet is vast. Your weapons powerful. Your experience ancient. Yet you are still human in one way, you assume certainty where there is none. The Kairos faltered. That pause was all humans needed. The galactic turning point. Neutral species watched the battle unfold. Across the stars, systems that had once doubted humanity began offering cooperation. Data, logistical support, even fleet reinforcement. The message was clear. Humans were a force for stability, even if the methods were incomprehensible. Colonel Vance monitored one such allied fleet arriving. They're trusting us, she murmured. Rourke nodded. Yes. They've realized humans fight not for conquest, but for preservation, for solutions. Even the Kairos saw the shift. Fear had become not just tactical but philosophical. The apex moment. Rourke activated the final part of Trick 6, a direct move on the Kairos command fleet. But unlike traditional strikes, there was no destruction. Instead, human ships guided the Kairos into a simulation of surrender, a scenario where the Dominion could retain honor while ceasing hostilities. It worked. The Kairos fleet paused, ships powered down, commanders convened. The realization dawned. Humans had never sought total destruction, only balance and victory without unnecessary loss. The human philosophy in action. Admiral Rourke addressed both humans and alien observers. Humans are judged by what they destroy, but we measure ourselves by what we protect. We win not through fear or annihilation, but through understanding, adaptability, and courage. You saw a fleet paralyzed. You saw billions safe. And yet, no one truly died, because humans fight to endure, to learn, and to teach. Across the galaxy, systems absorbed the lesson. Leaders whispered to each other, historians wrote feverishly, and strategists recalculated everything they thought they knew about war. Humans had become both legend and reality. End of Part 6, the galaxy realizes. By the end of Trick 6, the Kairos Dominion was forced to retreat entirely, not broken, but transformed by respect and fear. Across the Galactic Council, a single thought spread. Humanity is not just another species. Humanity is a new apex civilization. For the first time, a young, untested species had reshaped galactic politics, alliances, and military doctrine, without ever fully destroying their enemies. Rourke, staring at the stars from the Dauntless Bridge, whispered softly. Tomorrow they will see the final lesson. And the galaxy will understand what it means to underestimate humans. The galaxy held its breath. For centuries, empires rose and fell by the strength of fleets, the fire of weapons, and the cunning of strategy. Yet none had ever faced humans, a species small in history, young in interstellar years, but immeasurably vast in ingenuity, adaptability, and moral strategy. Now the final act was about to unfold. Admiral Elias Rourke stood aboard the USS Dauntless, the flagship that had survived the first Kairos strike, orchestrated Trick 4, 5, and 6, and changed the rules of war forever. The final step, Trick 7, would ensure that humanity's legend was not only complete but irreversible. The Kairos desperation. The Kairos Dominion, humiliated and shaken, were desperate. They had tried direct assault. It had failed. They had tried deception. It had failed. They had tried fear. It had failed. High Command gathered aboard the Caro's flagship, the Molten Spire, their armor gleaming, eyes burning with fury. "We cannot fight them," hissed a warlord. "They anticipate everything." "Then we destroy their homeworld," another growled. But Rourke already knew. Humanity never placed all its power in one location. Earth was safe, shielded, evacuated, and fortified, not just with weapons but with intelligence, strategy, and allies. The final trick: human supremacy without destruction. Rourke addressed his fleet via the command link. "This is the last lesson. They must understand humans are apex because we adapt, anticipate, and protect. Every system we touch, we preserve. Every battle we fight, we learn. They will surrender, not because they fear death but because they respect intelligence and integrity." The mirror fleets, drones, and orbital defenses activated in perfect synchronization. But the key element was psychological. Human communications were broadcast directly into the Caros systems, showing not propaganda but truth. Every fleet movement by Caros was anticipated. Every colony strike was neutralized. Every potential casualty was avoided. The message was clear. You may strike, but humanity has already won. Not by firepower but by foresight and morality. The Caros command algorithms failed, overloaded by simultaneous threats and truths they could not reconcile. Ships drifted. Generals argued. Fear became realization. The Council watches. From the Galactic Council chambers above the Blue Star, representatives from every corner of the galaxy observed the unfolding events. "They are unstoppable," whispered a crystalline elder. "They fight without killing and still dominate," a Zenth diplomat murmured. "They are apex," a young coalition ambassador finally admitted. For the first time, an entire galaxy recognized that humans had changed war, politics, and diplomacy in one decisive campaign. The Caros surrender. Rourke opened a channel to the Caros flagship. "Your fleets are intact. Your people are safe. You need not die," he said. His voice carried the calm confidence of a species that had survived the impossible countless times. The Caros commander's golden eyes narrowed, then widened. How can you offer peace after humiliation?" Rourke replied. "Because winning is not about pride or vengeance. It is about survival, strategy, and knowing when to strike, and when to teach. You attacked first. You chose aggression. But humans win by creating conditions where war is unnecessary." The Caros wavered, then powered down their weapons. One by one the fleet surrendered, not destroyed but neutralized through respect, cunning, and moral clarity. Humanity's message to the galaxy. Admiral Rourke addressed the Galactic Council, the Caros delegation, and the galaxy at large. "Humans are not the strongest, fastest, or oldest species. We are the most adaptable, the most creative, and the most principled. We win because we think differently. We win because we value life even when we fight. And we win because our intelligence is inseparable from our ethics. Any species that underestimates us will not simply be defeated, they will be enlightened by the consequences of their assumptions. That is the human way." Across the galaxy, humans were no longer merely a species. They were a paradigm shift. The aftermath. The Caros' dominion retreated to their borders, not broken but changed. Their fleets intact but humbled. Their commanders awed by a species that had survived, adapted, and triumphed without mass slaughter. Allied species recognized humanity as a stabilizing force, capable of both defense and diplomacy on an unprecedented scale. Earth celebrated quietly. No cities burned. No billions lost. Humans had won decisively through strategy, intelligence, and morality. Admiral Rourke, standing on the dauntless bridge, looked out at the stars. "Humanity," he whispered, "will not just survive, we will define what survival means for the galaxy." The legend of humanity. From the outer colonies to the Galactic Council chambers, across every star system, whispers spread. The humans do not fight like us. They do not kill like us. And yet, they always win. In every language, in every system, the story was the same. Humans, young, untested, unpredictable, had become the apex of strategy, morality, and adaptability. And the galaxy knew one undeniable truth. To underestimate humanity was the gravest mistake any species could make.